king's door chimes, in comes company.
The revival of Company picking up 9 nominations at this year's Tony Awards, including Best Revival of a Musical and Best Featured Actress for Jennifer Simard. Let's check back in with Paul Wontorek.
She's a surefire funny lady who's celebrating her 2nd Tony nomination. I'm going to walk through the career of Jennifer Simard with Jennifer Simard. Hi, Tony nominee.
Oh my gosh, how lucky am I? I love it's number 2. It feels like the first one wasn't a mistake.
And in fact, there could have been a few more because you've been fantastic in so many things.
Thank you.
And we are going to sort of go through all of that. You ready for that?
Yes, let's go.
You look great in animal print.
Thank you. Rawr. I love it. So do you. This is floral. I don't know. We did patterns today for all of you. We called.
We are starting right here.
Yes,
this
the Broadway
is
Theater.
the Broadway Theater, which is a very confusing name. It's a Broadway Theater called the Broadway Theater.
Yes.
And you actually did 2 different shows here.
Yes, my 2nd and 3rd Broadway shows.
Yes.
SHREK the musical was my 2nd Broadway show, and
who you playing SHREK?
I was Queen Lillian, so I was Fiona's mom, so the Julie Andrews part, tiny little part, and then I was the Wicked Witch, which was my main track.
I remember that very well.
It was the first time too, on the other side, on 53rd Street, there's glass panels, and it was the first time my picture was outside of a Broadway theater, which, I don't know about you, but that's a bucket list item, I think. So that was really fun. And then Sister Act was not too long thereafter.
I actually knew you over 10 years before you got to Broadway.
Yes.
From your amazing off-Broadway work.
Yeah, I was the off-Broadway girl.
I love your track because you literally went from excelling off-Broadway, really funny. I can remember some of your performances like vividly. And then you came to Broadway and you sort of built yourself up and you did ensemble work. I remember seeing you in Sister Act and being like, that nun right there is really funny. I've seen her do big things. And now you're being celebrated for doing bigger things.
Well,
I love that.
I'm so lucky. It's hard to break through, especially when you're in the ensemble. And so be nice to your ensemble members. Be nice to your understudies because they're the hardest working people in the building. And I'm very fortunate that I got some great roles.
So this is a great place to start. But now let's keep walking because we have many more things to do.
Let's do it.
Okay, Jen, here we are. This is the August Wilson Theater. Funny Girl, that's for you. Funny Girl.
Oh, thank you.
Funny Girl here.
Thank you very much.
But you were not in Funny Girl.
No, I was in the show that was prior, Mean Girls, and I played the adult women. So I played all 3 of the Ms. Heron, Ms. Norbury, and Mrs. George, and had the time of my life. It was the best J.O.B.
So in the movie,
yes,
those roles are played by?
Well, Tina Fey. Anna Gasteyer.
Yep.
And Amy Poehler.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great legacy.
Right, and so I sort of had to channel all 3 and make it completely different because stage is so different than film, you know. I have to say, I think Mrs. George was probably my favorite. And me and my show girlfriends, my babies, they used to come to me too, I guess with all their problems. I loved it. I felt like the oracle. It was fun to be the show mom.
I love to point out where people, like the actual stage door they made their Broadway debut, but this is a weird one.
Yes,
this is the Circle in the Square Theater.
Take your pick. It's a revolving door.
That you literally walk through the lobby.
You do, and you go downstairs.
So there's not really like a classic stage door.
Not a classic
situation.
Stage door, yes.
But you got to make your Broadway debut. First you did the national tour, is that right?
Yeah.
Of the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
That's right.
Or just Spelling Bee.
Yes.
That's what us theater people call it.
Yes.
And then you got to come do it on Broadway, and you played, what's her name?
I played Rona Lisa Peretti, opposite my friend Mo Rocca. He played Vice Principal Panch, and we remain best of friends to this day. He's one of my best friends. So not only did I get my Broadway debut out of it, I got a dear friend out of it as well.
Bonus. You were like running the spelling bee, right?
Yes, the great thing about Vice Principal Panch and Rona is they, at the desk, are really in charge of especially the first 45 minutes of the show, which is mostly improv. I got to use all my skills, including writing and comedy, singing, and, you know, being Little Miss Bossy Pants, so.
The Schubert Theater, 44th Street. This is like one of the fanciest.
I remember when I was doing Spelling Bee, I think Spamalot was still running, and because you had mentioned like the Circle is such a modern theater, I actually wondered at the time if I was going to ever be in a classic, and it doesn't get more classic than the Schubert Theater.
And not only that, you got to star in a classic called Hello, Dolly.
Yes.
With Bette Midler making her return to Broadway after so many years, and then you got to do it with Bernadette Peters, and Donna Murphy also did it.
These are my idols, who now I can say are my friends, and I loved playing the role of Ernestina with David Hyde Pierce, who was my mother's favorite actor. Yeah, it was incredible to be here at the beautiful Schubert Theater.
When you get to work with someone like Bette Midler, what is it like when you get to sort of like show her your stuff?
Well, Bette's wonderful because she respects artists, and she was a Broadway baby herself, don't forget. She was in Fiddler on the Roof many moons ago. She really owned the rehearsal room and owned the stage. She really also dove into all the backstage stuff. I'll never forget, we did these, a party from room to room, a progression party. Each room had a theme, and her room, she did Breaking Bad. And nothing can prepare you for Bette Midler just serving you Frito chili pie in a yellow hazmat suit. The whole Breaking Bad team should be proud. She outdid herself.
Jennifer, this is the Nederlander, which I always forget is actually the David Nederlander, a fantastic little theater that wasn't really very well appreciated before Rent became a sensation here in the 90s. But you got to spend a couple months in musical comedy heaven, I'm assuming.
It was.
Disaster, exclamation point.
Yes.
And you got to play a gambling addicted nun, and you got your first Tony nominations. This is a very special piece of your
This sort of
history.
changed everything for me. And Sister Mary Downey is one of the greatest roles I can imagine.
So this show is written by Seth Rudetsky
and Jack Plotnick. Yes,
and
it had been tooling around for a couple of years, readings and off Broadway at the Triad, and so as luck would have it, when they were ready to come to Broadway, luckily it was with me, so lucky me.
When Broadway became a reality to bring the show here, Seth and Jack got this amazing group of Broadway stars together to do it. And it didn't run, but it was hilarious. It was a disaster movie spoof, and it was just kind of insane for Broadway that this show happened on Broadway.
This was right in my wheelhouse. I loved being a part of it. They spoofed everything, like, killer bees and airplanes and floods, and oh my gosh, so funny. So I remember right before we closed, I tried to look at everyone on stage and memorize their faces because I cannot believe that I got to work with these legends. And I did.
So Jen, we're just hanging out in front of the Jacobs Theater.
That's what we do.
In front of a billboard that you happen to be on.
I know, I'm right there.
That's pretty exciting.
That is very exciting.
Look at this amazing group of people you get to star in company with.
I know, pinch me. I mean, this is what I always wanted.
So you play Sarah.
I do.
You're so funny in this show and in these moments. What about the fact that you're in a Tony category with Patti LuPone?
Well, that's pinch me stuff too. I have it's a true story. I have a cassette tape of me singing I Dreamed a Dream in my storage unit in the Hudson Valley. I should say I had it because I retrieved it, and it's now with a sound man who's zhuzhing it to make sure it sounds up to snuff. But I was desperately trying to sound as good as her. I didn't, and I'm still trying all these years later. So to be in a category with her is something, it really exceeds my wildest dreams.
Your Broadway success is very well earned, and that's what I love about talking to you about it. But what is it like when you sort of look back on what you've been able to accomplish?
When I went away during the pandemic, I always maintained a home in New York City, but I went back to where I grew up. And I literally grew up on a dead-end street, and I would stare at that sign. So to go from the promise of a dead end to 6 different theaters of 7 Broadway shows is a fulfillment of my greatest dreams.